Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about something which could completely flip your mindset. It could turn upside down your belief system and actually help you unlock your potential. Now, that might sound like a lot of promises, but honestly, if you've clicked on this video today, you probably know that you're going to bed at the end of the day, putting your head on the pillow and realizing that you've left a lot of opportunity on the plate. You're realizing that, you're a certain age now and you thought life would be a lot different, but you haven't really hit like that potential yet. And, like life should have been a bit different. That's kind of what you would have thought. And today I'm going to talk you through this awesome book here called Psycho-cybernetics, which is a mindset book. It's actually probably one of the top 5 mindset books I'd recommend. It's been recommended to me by Sam Ovens. I asked Sam a mindset question and he was like, you need to go and pick this book up because it's one of his favorites. And Ty Lopez actually recommends reading it as well. So what's it all about? I'm going to give you a quick sort of summary of it and like some actionable points you could take away from it. I recommend you pick it up anyway. And on the front, it says, tap into the power of your subconscious mind to improve your self-image, learn to use your positive past, set and achieve worthwhile goals, develop compassion, self-respect, and forgiveness, cultivate the power of rational thinking, discover the key to a happier, more successful life. Who doesn't want that, right? So this book is written by a guy called Maxwell Maltz, and Maxwell Maltz used to be a plastic surgeon. A super interesting story. So basically, he was a plastic surgeon, and dealing with everybody who felt like they needed plastic surgery. And what would happen was after, he was doing his job, working on people's faces or whatever they needed doing, he noticed that generally his customers, his clients fell into 2 groups of different sorts of people, right? He found that people would come to him, they'd have a problem, maybe like the nose was too big, etc. And they were like, can you help me with this? And he'd ask like deep questions of them. He'd say, why do you want your nose fixed? And they would say, I feel so self-conscious about it. I can't be confident with it. I feel like it's stopping me from doing A, B, and C, right? And he noticed that the first group of people would come to him. This is so interesting. They would come to him. He would, they'd go through with it. They'd pay him, whatever. He would do the surgery and he would fix the problem. And he says the first group of people would suddenly go away as almost like a new person, like overnight, right? They would suddenly go on from living like a moderate life or quite an unsuccessful life so far and completely turn everything around. And they would turn everything around and they would suddenly, be excelling in life. They'd suddenly be successful, they'd suddenly be like an executive. They'd suddenly, be top of the sales teams. They'd suddenly have all this crazy extra change, which came out of nowhere, right? And that was the first group of people who came to it, who had like this issue with themselves. And then they go on and be super successful once he fixed the problem. The second group of people, this is generally speaking, right? The second group of people, he would have people come to him, also like, I've got this problem. I've got this, nose problem. I've got this teeth problem. Could you help me fix this? Could you help me get rid of this issue? And he'd explore with them as well. And they'd be like, well, I feel so underconfident, like same answers. I feel so underconfident, can't do this. I'm self-conscious about this. It's stopping me from moving forward. So kind of the same answers. And basically what would happen is he'd go ahead and he'd fix whatever this person had wrong and make them look great. And he said that 2 or 3 months later, he would then get another inquiry from them saying that they had a different problem. And these people would just basically be repeat customers. They come back, they come back, they come back again. So there's 2 groups of people. One will go on to be successful after they'd had their problem fixed. The other one would like just keep having different problems. So he started to work it out, right? And, he talks about it in detail in his book. I'm just giving a bit of a summary, but basically he's saying that like the ability to be successful is all part of your mindset and it's part of like your self-image as well. See, the first group of people, they already had it in themselves to be successful. They had a problem. Maybe it was a physical problem, right? They had a problem. Maybe it was bad. Maybe it wasn't so bad. And they perceived that problem as the barrier to success. And if only that problem could get resolved, it would help them move forward. It would help them go on to be extremely successful. And this belief was so ingrained that he would fix this problem, and they believed now they were a better person and they could go on, and they did go and achieve more success. But group two, they believed that they had a problem and they believed it could be fixed. And when it was fixed, their brain, their mind just came up with like a different problem. All right, now I need this done. Now I need this done. Now this is the problem. Now this is the problem. Now this is the problem. And they just go around in circles, in circles. But these people, before and after the surgeries, are exactly the same people. Some of these people had very minor problems, yet it would drastically impact their life circumstances. And they go on to be so much more than they were currently achieving right now. So we were saying that, like, if you can influence your beliefs, because that's really the only thing that changed in the head, it was the beliefs, right? The beliefs which then inspired the actions. And a lot of Sam Ovens' mindset stuff is actually based on this book here. So so if you go through any of his courses, you know that he's got like some mindset stuff in there as well. And a lot of people in the industry also have mindset stuff in there as well. But it mainly comes from this book here. And it's the beliefs that you have inspire your actions, which then inspire your results. So if you were to believe, let's just take this as an example, I've got a big nose, I feel too ugly, right? I don't want to, I really want to like get on TV or, appear in media, but I just don't feel like I can do it, right? And as a consequence, the action is you don't do any of these things. In fact, you kind of hide away. You're shy in meetings. You don't put yourself out there because you're self-conscious about the way you look, right? Even though it could be a minor problem and it could just be in your head. And as a consequence, the results you get are pretty, subpar, right? They're not very good because you've hid away. But your belief is it's because you're actually like ugly, right? So as a consequence of this, you get like almost wrong information because you've got a bad result, right? That it reinforces the belief, I told you it was going to go badly. I told you those things. You've heard people say this, right? They have like a thought in their head and it goes exactly how they think it's going to go. And as a consequence, they're like, oh, I knew it was going to go like this. I should never have done this, blah, 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 blah. Whereas if they just started off with a more positive belief, it actually might not have went like that at all. And even if it has gone badly, it might not be as bad as they're actually perceiving it. Human brains are very, very complex. We're constant. If you look on like the media and things like this, like the media and on Facebook as well, like people's opinions, right? We try and provide all the time very simple solutions to very complex problems. And the human brain is very, very, very complex, right? There's a million like ways something can be thought. There's a million ways that something can be believed, right? There's the general principles of this book is that if you influence and change the belief, you're going to get the results anyway. So these people in group one, before the surgery, the ones who went on to be successful, if they would have just changed their belief anyway, they would have done the required actions, which would have got the required results. They would have been successful anyway, right? However, the surgery, it was like the door which unlocked, which let them actually have the confidence in themselves to go out and do the actions to then get the result anyway. But they credited the surgery, they didn't credit the change in belief. So the theories of the book, like it doesn't matter what you look like, who you're from, where you're from, who you are, if you could just get rid of the bad belief and replace it with a good belief instead, you're going to be in a much better position because you will act as if you're on these, good beliefs. If you look at any like sort of, I wouldn't even say fame. Well, I'd say famous people as well, but like rich people, anybody on like the Forbes rich list. And if you actually read any like biographies about them or read any, maybe like shareholder letters or any information about them, get a look into their mind, they are usually people who envision themselves in a positive future circumstance. And like, usually they have seen every part of success they've had, they've kind of seen it in their own mind's eye first. So the belief is already there. They've kind of already walked the path, right? It's super interesting. So another point of this book as well is Maxwell Maltz, the author, says that your brain is like a homing device as well. So it needs goals to work towards. And sometimes we don't really set goals for ourselves, and we actually have like almost like negative thoughts instead, like, oh, I hope this situation doesn't happen. But your brain is a homing beacon. So it can't understand like the difference between good and bad. So if you've got like constant worry and paranoia around, like, oh, I really hope this situation didn't happen. I used to have this. I used to really, really suffer from this. I used to look at the glass half empty, and I used to think like worst case scenario all the time, right? I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it comes from, like childhood. I don't know whether it comes from like bad experiences or something. Some people don't have that. In fact, if you go and speak to a person who hasn't ever dealt with anxiety, who's a naturally very confident person, like they cannot resonate at all with that situation. It's very interesting. So I used to, get these issues. And what used to happen was, because you set yours and like set in your mind's eye, like this could possibly happen, this is a negative scenario, your brain just thinks that's a goal and it kind of aims for it subconsciously. It does this a little bit and then it eventually gets there. And then you turn around to yourself and you're like, oh, I knew this would happen, right? So if you start looking at things with a much more positive approach, and there's some practical things you can do to this, right? You can write down like your beliefs, your current beliefs. If you're trying to accomplish something at the moment, write down your beliefs, analyze them. Have you got any beliefs in there that are like not serving you fully, right? Scratch them and replace them with different beliefs that are positive, right? So I actually went to an interview once. I had interviewed for this sales job and I didn't do very well for like the interview. I'm actually a really good interviewer, but I actually didn't do very well for it. They still granted me to the next position anyway, which is funny, but that's a different story. But I didn't do very well for this interview. And this was the first interview I've ever woke up on the morning of, and everything just felt wrong in the morning. Like I woke up and I was like, I don't feel like it today. Oh, I can't remember any of the stuff I've learned. I was sipping my coffee. My coffee didn't taste right. And lo and behold, I went in there. I was nervous before I went in there, and like I completely shot myself down, right? And it's a problem with like mindsets, right? I probably set myself somewhere along the lines, like visualize the scenario of it all going very bad. So that's another thing you can do as well. You've got like the beliefs part, writing down your beliefs, then you can also do the visualization part as well. So go and lie down for 5 minutes. It's recommended that you do this in the book, either before you go to sleep at night or maybe when you just get up in the morning, and just visualize everything that you're going to do either on the day or, for the next day. Just visualize it all going so well. What would it look like? And it was saying the more realistic you can make these visions in your head, like the more, the sense of smell, like what would you smell in that scenario? What would you be tasting? What would you be thinking in that scenario? What would you be feeling on your skin? What emotions would you be feeling? And the more you can do that, the more realistic it's going to change and alter the beliefs in your head. And he says in the book that your brain also cannot differentiate between what is reality and like past beliefs and what's made up visualization as well. So, how some people say, oh, if this didn't happen in my past, I would, be able to do this. And they kind of like the past hold them back as well. Well, luckily, this psychologist here has determined that realistically, your brain cannot tell between what you remember and what is made up. So people who are very confident, usually they've got a bunch of, reference points that they are thinking about, right? A bunch of scenarios which have previously happened where, they've been the life of the party. They have been out there absolutely crushing it. So they just kind of assume that's who they are. And then they end up being really confident. Your brain cannot establish what's the difference between those memories and a fake scenario you put in there. So if you haven't got any good scenarios, that doesn't put you any further behind. If you haven't got like many things you can kind of call upon to remember how you've, maybe crushed it before, just think to yourself, what would it look like if I crushed it? And if you visualize it, your brain cannot tell the difference. It still gets just as pumped. The emotions still rush around. It still starts to try and figure out how to get to the goal as well. So that's really it with this book. You know, it's a fantastic book. A lot of entrepreneurs recommend it. There are other ones out there, but I want to kind of put this video out now to see what you guys think about it. And if you'd like me to do like another book review about some different mindset books, let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this one. Take care. See you in the next one.